I hope it is working. I I am 12 minutes late because it was not working in my other computer as usually. Unfortunately, we always have issues. It's unbelievable. We always have issues. It's like the spirits are always trying very hard to make me quit and not continue this work. But I said, no, I'm not going to quit. I will continue. I hope you can hear me. I'm actually using the new system on Facebook because it was such a last minute thing. So I started in this new system that I can't see anyone. I hope you guys can hear. Oh, I just saw something here. Oh, I think now this is in the other side. Anyway, good evening. This is Angie Stewart from Miami InnerLight here in Kardec Radio. And as always, we have lots of emotions. We never, ever, ever had one talk without some kind of issues. So it's normal, it's fine. But we are here because we love to study in this beautiful book. That's what put us together. So Among Brothers of Other Lands is a beautiful book that was a joint work of two mediums, Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira. They collected beautiful messages while they were traveling abroad Brazil. So they were in the United States, they were in Europe, they were in many different places, but the messages were specific for spiritists abroad, spiritists that are not living in Brazil. So this is perfect for us. I am here in Miami, Florida, and we don't know where you are, but wherever you are, if you are participating, it's because this message is for you. So if you are new here, we always like to tell you to have a bottle of water so the spirits can bless it, they can put some positive energy, and you can benefit from this through the whole week. So right now I just would like to invite you to do a quick prayer, just a few seconds together, and then we can start the study without a lot of turbulence, hopefully. Okay? Dear God, our guardian angels, thank you so much for your protection. Thank you for bringing us here to continue our studies tonight, helping us, guiding, inspiring all of us. Me that will be talking, you all that will be listening, so we can do a good job together. Thank you so much. So be it. Very good, my friends. Welcome. So again, I'm Angie Stewart, full of emotions. Oh, I can see I have some comments here. I don't think I can see much because it's saying that I did not do some kind of configuration that I'm supposed to do. But so I see here, I see Saul Souza, I see a new person. Siedaqui Shah. I hope I said your name correctly. It's a difficult name for me. But you said you are from Pakistan and we actually pray for Allah. If I get this money, I want to help a country. Well, money is really good, but as right now we know, health is the most important thing ever, ever, ever. Lots of millionaires are praying they will continue having a good health. So this is what we really need to focus right now. Hello, Matthew. Nice to see you. Hello, everybody that I can't see your names. It only show me when you write something. But we are on chapter 26, and today the title is Faith and Culture. So I will read, And please feel free to write your comments, your questions, and when I finish, we can comment together. Okay? So, faith and culture. The text is from the Spirit of Emmanuel. I think like this is a little bit better. Accept him whose faith is weak, without passing judgment on disputable matters. Paul, Romans 14:1. Undoubtedly, not always faith accompanies the expansion of culture, as much as not always culture can level faith. A vigorous brain can elevate itself to the prodigies of calculation, or distinguish itself in the innermost fields of emotions, inside the doors of the artistic values, without, though understanding, the anything about moral resistance before temptation or suffering. In an analogous way, a fervent heart is susceptible of the noblest demonstrations of heroism before pain, or the greatest reaction against evil, patenting manifested incapacity to accept the imperatives of perquisition, or the requisites of a progress. So perquisition is like a meticulous examination. It's an examination very deep. So it's like a perquisition. Science investigates and religion believes. If it's not fair that science imposes guidelines to religion because of its incompatibilities to the needs of feelings, it is not reasonable that religion obliges science to adopt norms that are irreconcilable with its demands of reasoning. Equilibrium will be our climate of understanding in all issues that regard faith and culture, or we will always be threatened by the desert of disbelief or the march of fanaticism. Let us help one another. In the sowing of faith, let us learn to listen with serenity, to speak rightly. The Apostle Paul says, accept him whose faith is weak, without passing judgment on disputable matters. It is because to reach culture, child of a work and faith, the human being is naturally compelled to inquire, examine, experiment, and theorize. But to reach living faith, child of comprehension and love, we need to serve. And to serve is to make light unravel. Very beautiful. Oh, the computer turned off. It's a little dark here. Let me see if I can turn a light on. A little bit better. So, beautiful text. It was written in Paris, France, August 23rd, 1965. So, what can we say? What can we say about this text? So, Emmanuel here is talking about faith and culture. It's almost like if he's talking about moral and intellect. And we know in Spiritism, for us to evolve, we need to have these two together. We need to have faith and we need to have intellect. We need to have moral qualities and intellectual qualities together. But when we analyze both of them, it's almost like if they don't go together. It's almost like the people that think a lot about faith, religion, beliefs, they don't go together with people that are intellectuals, that are they study hard, they always think about science. That's what that's what comes to our mind when we think about it. So Emmanuel is telling here that we have to have a balance, and we know that. We know that the elevated spirits, the enlightened spirits, they have these two qualities in equal level, in a very, very high level. So we are, you know, like this. We go in waves. In one incarnation, we have a little bit more of that, a little more of this. But one day, we are going to be collecting all these little bits and we will have a lot, hopefully. We need to have a lot of hard work to be able to get it. It's not in one lifetime that we will be able to develop so much, but we have to try hard every lifetime to develop more and more and more. So he starts like just in the beginning. Undoubtedly, not always faith accompanies the expansion of culture, as much as not always culture can level faith. And we know that. We know that it's very hard to have a very intellectual person that is also very religious. Usually, they don't go very well together. But we have seen, as I mentioned before, we have seen many scientists that are open minded and that they finally understood that the science and the religion or faith should be together. And the contrary, too. Religious people that believe in science and then they think science is extremely important. So they are like fighting those persecutions from the past when the religious people were the ones who were telling the intellectual ones to be killed. So the religious people in the past, they were the ones who unfortunately they were destroying science because of blind faith. As we know, blind faith is not good. Anything that is extreme, like makes us someone to look just to the front without looking to the sides, it's not good. Anything in our lives, we have to be open minded in order to understand, in order at least to get the perspective of whatever someone else is mentioning to us. So this is it's very important. And then Emmanuel continues, a vigorous brain can elevate itself to the prodigies of calculation or distinguish itself in the innermost fields of emotions inside the doors of artistic values without though understanding the anything about moral resistance before temptation or suffering. So that's like a vigorous brain, a very intelligent brain, a bright intellect. It can get distinguished in many points, but many times it cannot have an understanding of anything about moral resistance, about how to resist a temptation or how to fight a suffering, a pain. So today when we go to the gospel in the second part of our study, we are going to see a beautiful message from a bishop that lived in France, and he talks about what we are living right now, huge turmoils, huge problems, and why they happen, and what can we do in order to be able to leave it, to be able to go over it without getting desperate, without too much suffering, because we know pain is inevitable. inevitable. Sorry, inevitable. We will have pain, but suffering depends on us. Depends on us. Oh, I'm suffering so much. Poor me, poor me. I suffer a lot. Really, we don't suffer as much as we feed our suffering. Yes, we will go through pain, but it doesn't mean that this is suffering. But then he goes in an analogous way. So he analyzed the brain, and now he's going to analyze the faithful person. In an analogous way, a fervent heart is susceptible of the noblest demonstrations of heroism before pain, or the greatest reactions against evil, patenting manifested incapacity to accept the imperatives or perquisition or the requisites of a progress. And then it's almost like science investigates, religion believes. But that's what we were talking about. When a science only investigates, when science only believes in what they can prove, that's already a problem. And when he mentions here, when the religion only believes, that's also a problem. Because in Spiritism, we learn that you have to understand, not to believe. Oh, I believe in something because I heard a speaker to talk about it. Then someone is going to go and say, okay, so can you explain why do you believe this? And then you are not going to be able to explain because you didn't understand it. You just believe because someone told you. It's almost like nowadays with all those fake news. In Brazil, all kinds of fake news because of the political turmoil, and also because of course the COVID-19, because this is this disease that's affected our whole planet, and we are all going through a lot of turmoil because of it. A lot of people are dying, so it's very difficult. So fake news will always exist because people will enjoy spreading panic all over. So we have to be very careful before the temptation of sharing that message that you have no idea if it's true or not. Be careful. Hold on, wait, and let's check if it's real or not. So the next page, he continues. If it's not fair that the science imposes guidelines to religion because of its incompatibilities to the needs of feelings, it is not reasonable that religion obliges science to adopt norms that are irreconcilable with its demands or reasoning. That's beautiful. That's Emmanuel saying, yes, we cannot obligate science to do things that religion wants, and we cannot obligate religion to follow all the guidelines of science because they are very different, but they can work together. It's almost like when we talk that all the religions could work together if they wanted. What happened with the many different religions is because each one wants to fight to be the better, the most important, the one that's right. And of course, every single one is different. Imagine Spiritism. Spiritism has certain points that are very difficult for other religions. Just talking about the reincarnation, for example. A lot of religions do not accept it. The Catholics, they cannot accept reincarnation. For them, this is crazy. And for us, this is obvious. It's proven. What for them is a coincidence, for us is almost like science. If someone was just reincarnated with this amazing talent, never went to school, is a 3-year-old playing amazing symphonies, it's because it came from another life, another experience. It's not a coincidence this little kid is doing it. But we have to respect We have to respect each one. If we were able to focus in one point that we all, I'm talking about just religions at this point, if we were able to focus in a point that we all have in common, then it would be beautiful, would be a blessing. Let's focus in charity. All the religious people, from many, many different ones, they all have a charitable point as a common ground. Yes, certain beliefs it's much stronger than others, but all of them have a common ground. Or you can talk about God. Let's focus in God. All the religions have one God, different names, different ways of understanding, but it's a God. So when when in the future, when we are able to change the way of thinking and reasoning, then things will be easier for us to accept our each other, to understand we have differences, but we should leave this aside and embrace each other as brothers and sisters, and continue progressing, continue doing good, being charitable, helping each other, especially nowadays in this very difficult time of social distancing, of isolation. A lot of people that live alone are going through difficult times, not just financial times, but also depression, alcoholism. I heard of a domestic violence, so many things that are going through the lives of people being affected. And of course, fear, fear. A lot of people are afraid of leaving their homes, afraid of losing their jobs, afraid of going back to live in society, getting sick and ending up in a hospital. So these are difficult times that we should embrace each other and help each other so we would be able to overcome these difficulties. So the next paragraph is very beautiful. Equilibrium will be our climate of understanding in all issues that regard faith and culture, or we will always be threatened by the desert of a disbelief or the march of fanaticism. So this is very beautiful, because that's what we need. We need to have a equilibrium, a balance. When we are able to accept a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So when the scientific minds can accept a little bit of a faith, of religiosity, and when the religious people could accept a little bit of a religion, that's when they are going to start mingling. I'm not saying merging because it's still very difficult, but mingling, accepting a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's when evolution is going to start happening faster. Then he continues, let's help one another. That's the most important thing. We have to help one another. So think about the tough time we are going through, this tough time of the social distancing. This is not a time to fight. This is not a time to decide political tough things. It's a time to help each other. It's a time not even to ask what's your political view, or what's your religion. It's a time to say, can I help you with something? I like you, let me help you. It's a time for us to call our friends, to call our family, to make lots of video conferences, to use a lot this new Zoom app and FaceTime and everything, because this is a way that we are helping each other. And it's beautiful if you can do that, we can be positive even when most of people are so negative, getting involved in lots of fights and lots of turmoil, especially over social media, because in the past we used to get in turmoil with our neighbors wherever we lived. Nowadays it's in social media. People are fighting against each other and they live 10,000 miles away, but they are fighting. So it's hard. Let's try to be more positive. Let's be careful with our comments, because whenever we post something, it's going to affect someone else. And because everything is open, everyone feels they can fight with you, even if they don't know you well. They feel they can impose their understanding, their belief, and that's when fights start happening. And that's exactly what shouldn't, because we should understand an equilibrium and try to be more understanding with each other. But it's still so difficult for us living here on this beautiful planet Earth. So, in the sowing of faith, let us learn to listen with serenity, to speak rightly. The Apostle Paul says, accept him whose faith is weak, without passing judgment on disputable matters. It is because to reach culture, child of work and truth, human being is naturally compelled to inquire, examine, experiment, and theorize. So to be able to reach culture, to reach intellect, we need to do that. The intellect is a child of a work and truth. So we have to work. We have to work to discover the truth. But what is the truth? What is the truth? The truth for science is one. The truth for religious people is a different one. But the scientific people are going to discover their truth, their ways of evolving. And that's how they do. They have to inquire, examine, experiment, theorize. They have to write. And we know that in science, everything has a special procedure, special guidelines that have to be followed in order to be generally accepted. In other hand, we have, but to reach living faith, child of comprehension and love. So faith is a kid of comprehension and love. We need to serve. And what is serve? Serve is to be able to help another person, to be charitable, and not necessarily to your loved ones. Because when we help someone that we like, that's easy. When we help someone that we don't even know, that's the difficult part. That's the really charitable work. When you give someone something that you have in excess, that's easy. Well, we can say that's easier. But when you give to someone something that you really need or that you really like, or is also very important for you, then it's really charitable. But it doesn't matter. In our level of evolution, any type of charity is extremely welcome, and we should all practice this. Estamos tendo problema reproduzido. I hope you guys still can see me. I don't know. The video just went black here. Can anyone just write me saying if they can hear my voice, or the video just went black and the voice too? Can you hear me, please? My emotions. Can you please confirm if you can hear me? The video just went black. I don't know what happened. Hello, my friends. I don't know if you can hear me. Nobody's answering. I guess you can't. I can see myself. Oh, you still can hear me? Ay, ay, ay. Guys, it's always an adventure. Unbelievable. Anyway, we are finalizing the book. I'm just telling the little last bit that it's explaining about the faith that's the child of comprehension and love. So, this is a beautiful message. And the final sentence it says, and to serve is to make light unravel. So light unravel is like is it means the light to explain, the light to shine. So whenever we learn how to serve is then when our light will be really shining. So it's so upsetting that I always have so many problems and I get really annoyed is the least that I can say. I am in my second computer. I don't know why my first computer just went crazy. And now my second computer just turned off the camera and it's not turning on. Facebook is saying it's having problems with the video, but you can hear me. So I will continue the last part. We are going to the gospel now. I hope you still can listen to my voice and hopefully it will allow me to continue for a little bit more. Um, so I am right now in the book, The Gospel According to Spiritism, and we are in chapter 7, Blessed are the poor in spirit. And I never read a whole message because the messages are very long. They are very they are very long messages. So I like to minimalize it. But this message is so beautiful. This is the message from Adolf, the Bishop of Argel, and it was written in Marmande, 1862. Marmande is in France, is in the south of France. And this message is very, very modern. Like we can use this message for our time. So I will read it and I will comment uh, in the end. I'm so sorry you guys can't see me, but hopefully you still can hear me. So the message is number 12. Oh, humankind, why do you complain about the calamities that you have heaped upon your own heads? You have despised the holy and divine morals of Christ. Do not be surprised, therefore, that the cup of iniquity has overflown on all sides. Troubles have become widespread. Who is to blame except you yourselves, who incessantly seek to crush one another? You cannot be happy without mutual benevolence. But how can benevolence exist with pride? Pride is the fount of all ills. So devote yourselves to destroying it if you do not want to perpetuate its devastating consequences. There is only one way offered to you for this, but it is foolproof. Take as your invariable rule of conduct the law of Christ, the law you have rejected or falsified in its interpretation. Why do you hold such a high regard for whatever shines and enchants the eyes rather than what touches the heart? Why is the vice found in opulence the object of your adulations? Why you have only a look of disdain for the true merit that lies in obscurity? Let rich debauchees, lost in body and soul, appear anywhere, and all doors are open to them, and all eyes are on them, whereas hardly anyone will consider the gesture of a greeting to moral persons who live by their labor. As long as the consideration granted to persons is measured by the weight of the gold they possess, or by the name they bear, what interest could they possibly have in correcting their defects? So this portion of the message is so touching, it's so important, it's so actual for our time that we are living, especially here in the United States. You can say only here because I'm from Brazil, and in Brazil is the same. Actually, sometimes in Brazil is worse because people are so extremely connected to the power, to the fame, to the beauty. So when a person goes in a store to buy anything, the salespeople look at them and see how they are dressed, and depending on how they are dressed is what they are going to think of that person, is how they're going to treat that person. If someone is famous, if it's an actress, an actor, everybody gets crazy to be friends with them and thinking they are the goddess of our time. But it does, as the spirit mentions here, when a person is just humble and a person lives well with their labor, then nobody considers them, nobody thinks about them, they are one of a million and nobody cares, because we are still in the time that uh, we put too much interest, we put too much, how can I say, I'm missing the word, we we think too much of a person by the values of money or power or beauty they have to offer. If they have moral values, if they are simple, humble people, nobody cares about them. It's very sad. It's very difficult. So continue with the message. The opposite would occur if the defect of gold were criticized by public opinion in the same way as the defect of tatters. Tatters are like those clothes that are cut in pieces, like shredded, for example. Pride, however, is indulgent toward anything that pleases it. This is a time of cupidity and money, you say. No doubt about it. But why have you let material needs encroach on good sense and reason? Why does anyone want to rise above his of or her brothers and sisters? Society today is suffering the consequences of this fact. So this is what I just mentioned about. This is what I just said. People are thinking about the importance of money, the material needs, and whenever someone doesn't have much of this to offer, then they don't think it's a valuable person. But then Adolf continues. Do not forget that such a state of things is always a sign of moral decadence. When the pride reaches extremes, it is an indication that a downfall is close at hand, for God always punishes the arrogant. If he sometimes allows them to ascend, it is to give them time to reflect and mend their ways under the blows that he gives to their pride from time to time in order to warn them. Instead of humbling themselves, however, they rebel. Then, when their cup is full, God brings them down suddenly, and their downfall is all the more terrible and higher they have ascended. So this is to show us that one day this proud way of living comes down to all the people that only think this is important. So all the people that only give a value to this type of things, one day they all come down crashing. And if they don't have a faith, or they never had faith, or they never even thought about God or anything like that, then they suffer really, really bad. So this is why many times God gives so many chances, gives them one chance, a second, a third. But then, as Adolf told us here, when the cup is full, then God just let it go and they fall. So the final portion of the message is like this. Poor humankind, whose selfish has corrupted every pathway, take heart once again, nonetheless. In his infinite mercy, God has sent you a powerful remedy for your ills, an unexpected aid in your affliction. Open your eyes to the light. There are souls of those who are no longer on the earth and who have come to call you to your real duties. Without the authority of their experience, they will tell you how the vanities and grandeur of your temporary existence are a small thing in comparison with the eternity. They will tell you that the greatest is the one who was the humblest among the small of your world, that those who love their brothers and sisters the most are also those who will be loved the most in heaven. So this the Adolf is explaining to us that the greatest in heaven, the greatest in the spiritual realm, are those who really humble themselves, are those who here on earth worked so hard for the brothers and sisters, who donated themselves, who loved each other. And those who really think about the gold, power, money, and so many other vices are the ones who, when they wake up in the spiritual realm, they will be suffering because it's going to be painful and very difficult. So he just finalizes the beautiful text. Let me read the ending too. So here, that the powerful of the earth, if they abuse their authority, will be reduced to obeying their servants. That, in short, charity and humility, those two sisters who walk hand in hand, are the most effective means for obtaining grace before the Eternal One. So this is his message. So the great ones on earth, the powerful one on earth, the ones that abuse their authorities, and now we can think about the politicians. These are the ones who are so dangerous. This type of jobs, this type of work on earth is so dangerous because it's so easy to be corrupt. It's so easy to abuse the power, even in little things. But can you imagine in big things, in countries, when you imagine a whole population of Venezuela suffering so much, North Korea, even China, they suffer, they are oppressed. Yes, you say, oh, some of them, like for example in China, they are used to it. But it's not true. It's not true. The people who make this happen, these abuses, they will suffer the consequences. They will suffer the consequences when they reach to the other side. So we that know that, we have to work really hard on charity and humility. So it doesn't matter who you are right now, if you are important, if you're rich, if you are anything. Think. Think about the others who have so much less than you. Try to humble yourself. Try to extend your hand. Try to start donating something. We all can donate. And if we are people that we don't have a good financial situation at this moment, because we are also going through a hard time, so offer your hand. I said so many times, give a call to someone, offer your ears when someone is going through a problem. Call the person, say, let's talk. I can't do anything for you, but we can pray. This is exactly the same thing a beggar asked Peter one time and said, please give me money. I need to eat. And Peter said, I have no coins for you, but I have something that might be much more important in your life. Of course, wasn't with these words, but Peter grabbed the hands of that beggar, prayed with him, and cured him. He couldn't walk, and he stand up and he walked. And this was one of the first miracles that Peter was able to do by himself, right after Jesus had already been crucified. So this donation of love that Peter gave to the beggar was much more important than any type of gold coins that he could have ever received. So this is the beautiful message of Adolf, Bishop of Argel, from Armand, France, in 1862. And I would like this final minutes, we have 2 minutes. I would like just to remind you all that I have spoken to many friends, and we are all praying in many different countries, many different states. This is my snooze telling me that we have to pray at 10 o'clock. So I would like to ask you to talk to your friends, your family, and tell everybody, please, let's pray for each other. Let's pray for our planet. I know in many countries, in the many states here in the United States, uh, the states are going to be opening soon. People are going to start going back to their jobs, going back to the streets, going back to a kind of normal life. But this is when we have to be very careful, because a lot of people, they might be sick, they might not, they might also be sick but not demonstrating anything, and that's when they can start spreading more and more the disease. So let's pray for ourselves, and let's pray for God to help all of us to go through these difficult times. So just 1 minute with you, and let's elevate our thoughts. God, our Mother and Father, we are here asking for your protection, asking for your guidance, asking for your love. We also ask to give us the strength to continue strong in our faith, understanding that everything happens for a reason. Our humanity, we were all sick in different degrees, but we were all sick. And this is the harsh treatment that we need. It's a moment that the whole planet had to stop to think about what's going on. How can we be better? How can we really understand love, family? How can we really understand what is important in life? Because it's not fame, it's not money, it's not power. What is important is really love, it's forgiveness, it's family, it's real friendship, it's charity, it's love. Please, Master Jesus, protect all of us, guard all of us, Protect all the nurses, the doctors, all the people that work in hospitals, even from the cleaning people until the engineers responsible for the air conditioning, for the heating system. Protect all of them that get out of their homes in order to be able to provide a location for the sick people to be treated. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for your light. And let's continue together and returning here next Thursday. Thank you so much. So be it. So, my friends, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience, being here with me. I'm so sorry that every time something happens, and this time was the camera. But I'm happy for our friends that will be listening in Kardec Radio, so they will be able to listen this without interruption. And to all of you from Facebook, I hope to see you next week. And as I said, with a new new situations, because we never know what's gonna happen in this house here. As I said, my mediumship sometimes drive me crazy. The lights turn on, turn off, and that's what's happening in my lives lately. Thank you so much, my friends. Have a wonderful evening, a great weekend, and please be safe. All the best. Bye bye. Thank you. God bless you.